Kiều.
Kim Potter, who is white, said she meant to use her taser on Wright, a 20-year-old black man, but drew her handgun by mistake and fired a fatal shot. A Minneapolis jury on Thursday convicted former police officer Kim Potter on all charges she faced for fatally shooting black motorist Daunte Wright with a gun, and not her taser, earlier this year. Potter showed no emotion as the Hennepin County panel found her guilty of first-degree manslaughter, meaning she improperly used such force and violence that death of or great bodily harm to any person was reasonably foreseeable. The former Brooklyn Center officer said she accidentally killed Wright, shooting him with her Glock when she meant to fire her taser. Jurors also found the white former officer guilty of second-degree manslaughter charge, which only required a finding of culpable negligence that created unreasonable risk and consciously takes chances of causing death or great bodily harm to another. Jurors found her guilty of the lesser charge on Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, according to jury forms read in court. The panel reached its verdict on the more serious charge on Thursday at 11:40 a.m., jurors said on their verdict form. "We have a degree of accountability for Daunte's death," Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison told reporters outside court. "Accountability is not justice. Justice is beyond the reach that we have in this life for Daunte. But accountability is an important step, a critical, necessary step on the road to justice for us all." The victim's mother, Katie Bryant, thanked prosecutors and community supporters during this long fight for accountability. "The moment that we heard guilty on manslaughter, emotions, every single emotion that you could imagine, just running through your body at that moment," Bryant said of her reaction to the verdicts. "I kind of let out a yelp, because it was built up in the anticipation of what was to come while we were waiting for the last few days." Potter faces a maximum of 15 years behind bars. The jury consisted of 1 black person, 2 Asian American people, and 9 white people. Judge Regina Chu ordered Potter taken into custody with her bail revoked, over the objections of defense attorneys. Chu said Potter is looking at serious time behind bars, and I am going to require that she be taken into custody and held without bail. "I cannot treat this case any differently than any other case," Chu said. While the verdicts were read, and in the moments of courtroom argument immediately after, was not demonstrative other than a brief moment when she crossed herself. Potter was handcuffed and both of her attorneys put their hands on her shoulders before she was taken away. Her sentencing was set for February 18. Ellison said he felt sympathy for Potter and her family, but added, she will be able to correspond with them and sit with them no matter what happens. But the Wrights won't be able to talk to Daunte. Wright's fatal shooting on April 11 happened about 10 miles from the courthouse, where former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin was on trial for the slaying of George Floyd. Days later, Chauvin, who is white, was convicted of second- and third-degree murder, as well as second-degree manslaughter, in the May 25, 2020, killing of Floyd, a black man, whose death touched off a summer of national protests calling for an end to institutional racism. Potter's trial was held in the same courtroom where Chauvin's trial was carried out. Potter's defense team left the courthouse without speaking to reporters on Thursday. But as they were arguing for continued freedom on bail, defense attorney Earl Gray repeated Potter's insistence at trial that Wright's death was an accident. "She's not going to run, she's not going to commit any more crimes," Gray told the judge. "She's been convicted of an accident. She's been convicted of being reckless." A tearful Potter testified in her own defense last week and described a chaotic scene that required her to make a split-second decision. Wright was being arrested on an outstanding weapons charge when he tried getting back into his car. Potter testified that she feared for the safety of another officer, Sergeant Michael Johnson, who was struggling with Wright from the passenger side. Potter holstered her Glock on her right, dominant side and her taser on the left. The prosecution played video from Potter's body camera for jurors, showing how the officer had the Glock in her hand for at least 5 seconds before firing the deadly round. The Glock used to kill Wright weighed 2.11 pounds, compared to the .94-pound taser that emanates light, and needed a safety switch to be pulled before use, prosecutors said.